Shio, and welcome to this edition of Cherokee Histories and Stories. What happened here? My name is Kathi Littlejohn, and for today's episode, we are at Fort Hembree in present-day Clay County, Hayesville, North Carolina. In December of 1835, John Schermerhorn persuaded a small group of Cherokee people to sign what is called the Treaty of New Echota. A brief summary of the treaty was that the Cherokee Nation would cede all lands east of the Mississippi and receive $5 million for their removal and relocation to Indian Territory in the West. It also called for the Cherokee people to be paid for all improvements on their land, and the government would subsidize them for 1 year after they arrived in the West. Of course, the majority of the Cherokee people were against the treaty and fought for the next 3 years against the removal policy. They signed petitions, they entered court cases, but despite all of their pleas, the Senate ratified the Treaty of New Echota. North Carolina legislature authorized funds for the construction of what they called the Great State Road from Franklin, North Carolina to present-day Murphy, North Carolina, to facilitate the sale and the settlement of Cherokee lands ceded during the treaty. The Army began enlarging trails large enough to fit wagons, and they began building forts and holding camps. One such fort was built in October of 1837 by the Tennessee militia here at this site. Called Fort Hembree, the site stretched out over about 12 acres. Fort Hembree's site now sits on private property. The owner of the property shared with us a photograph of a building that used to stand just here, which was a combination of the dining hall and officers' quarters. Another building, just a short distance up this hill, was another building for officers' quarters, while under this bird bath was the fort's water supply and a 100-foot well. Just over the paved driveway off down the bank was the stockade, where over 1,000 Cherokees were held before they were marched over to Fort Butler in present-day Murphy, North Carolina. No one knows exactly the real reason why so many deaths of the Cherokee people occurred here at Fort Hembree. It may have been an outbreak of measles. It possibly could have been the taking of their own lives, as they were so reluctant to leave this beautiful valley. But leave they did. As I stand here, I can't help but think of the sadness of this place, and I wonder if perhaps to ease their children and to help them sleep at night while they were in the stockade, they may have told some of the old Cherokee stories, maybe like this one. You see, Rabbit was the trickster. He was lazy and always tried to get over on all the other animals. He tried everything that he could do to get out of working for something. And he played tricks on everybody. One day, Rabbit was walking and spied Fox coming with a fine mess of fish that he had caught for his supper. Thinking about that, he wanted those fish. He knew Fox wasn't likely to share with him for all the tricks that he'd played on him in the past. So laying down in the path, he played dead. Sure enough, Fox walks up and says, "Oh my goodness, look at this. A freshly killed rabbit. Oh, that would be good for my supper. But I've got these fish. I better not." And he stepped around Rabbit and walked on. When he was out of sight, Rabbit jumped up, ran around, got in front of him, and laid down on the other side of the path. Fox comes up and says, "Would you look at this? 2 dead rabbits. This is my lucky day. But I've got all these fish. I better not." So he stepped around Rabbit and walked on. Rabbit jumped up and he ran around to the other side and lay down across the path. Here comes Fox. I can't believe this. 3 rabbits. I've got to get these rabbits. What can I do with my fish? So he takes the fish and he hides them in a hollow log and covers it all over with leaves. And he went back to get the first and second rabbit. As soon as he did, Rabbit jumps up, takes his fish, skedaddles home, and has a nice fish fry for supper. That's it for this episode at Fort Hembree in Clay County, Hayesville, North Carolina. Thank you for joining me.